Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another one of our Animal Career Day interviews. I'm Keeper Kylie here with the Lion Habitat Ranch, and I'm so glad that you guys were able to join me yet again for another one of our amazing interview series. This one's going to be super fun, and as you know, pretty close to my heart. So I'm really excited to get into this. But before we do, hey guys, thank you for still visiting us. We have been really impressed with your support, your caring, all of your wonderful outpouring of love has just been really amazing. If you have not been able to visit us yet, we are open, but we do know that it is limited. It can be hard for people to travel. It is really hot outside right now, so I don't begrudge you wanting to stay inside. That's fine. But if you have the opportunity to, maybe it's a great opportunity to look into donations. We are still in need of donations, so that's a really good way to help. You can donate right here on our Facebook page or by going to lionhabitatanch.org. You can donate right there on our page. You can also go and buy items. Maybe the graduate in your life has finally graduated. Congratulations to that. How about an Aussie painting? I think that's a pretty good way to celebrate the love of your life with the love of my life and his amazing artistic abilities. I don't know. I think it's a good idea. But those are some great things that you can do to help support us, even if you can't come and visit us, guys. It's going to be hot for a while too, so yeah, I definitely understand that. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's chat I'm very excited about is birds. I love it. Being a bird keeper is something where we hear it all the time, where people are always amazed by birds once they actually have the opportunity to see them. We see birds every day, and I don't think people really appreciate the physiology that they have, their makeups, how entirely unique systems they have, and how intricate their personalities can really be. How they behave as individuals, how they behave in groups is something that is so fun and so unique, and working with them really is just an amazing and loving experience. I'm very excited, and I am here with a special guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Megan, and I am a bird keeper, and I've been a bird keeper for over 15 years.
That is some awesome dedication. We lovingly refer to bird keepers as bird nerds in our world. I am a bird nerd / herd nerd because I work with my hoof stock. So yeah, this is something where if you guys are really working with birds, this is a great experience. Where do you live currently?
I currently live in Orlando, Florida. So talking about hot, it is
Yes,
smoldering down here.
definitely. Now, did you grow up in the area or did you have to move for your job?
I moved for my job. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've actually hopped all over the country from California to Maryland to Miami and settling here in Orlando.
Yep, and again, guys, it's that reoccurring theme in this field. Traveling is definitely an opportunity. It's a great opportunity though, because you get to see a lot of different parts of the country that you might not have been able to. And again, if you are nervous about moving, I promise that the zookeeper community is one of the most close-knit, most amazing things I have ever worked in. And so when people find out that you are joining their team, they will welcome you with open arms. You'll already have friends before you move there. But you most likely will have to move. So that is something to always keep in mind when it comes to our field. Did you always want to work with birds? Is that one of your key species, or did you kind of fall into it? How did that story happen?
I kind of fell into it in a way. Since I was about 6 years old, I've always wanted to be a zookeeper. I went to the San Diego Zoo when I was young and just fell in love with the elephants. And from then on out, I wanted to be an elephant keeper. And I went to school to be in animal care. I went to Penn State for animal bioscience and just did everything I could and volunteered at the Pittsburgh Zoo, took many internships and just tried to work my way in. And I finally got that first job, and I was like, I'm gonna be an elephant keeper. I cannot wait. And I was actually a mixed taxa keeper. So I worked with birds and otters and cheetahs and retired animals, storks, little birds, all kinds of stuff. And from there, I actually took an internship, a different internship as an elephant keeper. And from there, after the internship ended, the bird department really liked me because I would have to go past their area from time to time. And they just grabbed a hold of me and they took me and they said, okay, you're volunteering here now till we have a position open. And that's what happened, and became just a straight bird keeper, and then just fell into hand rearing and egg incubation. So an even more specialized section of bird keeping. So it's been a wild ride. I've done it all, but I love the birds.
And guys, this is not an unusual story. I think you've heard it from a few keepers now. There might be a particular species that you really want to work with, and that is fantastic. But when it comes to actually getting into the zoo field, don't just limit yourself to only applying to positions with those species. One, you're going to have experience somewhere. So it's going to be a tough job if you don't have any paid experience first. Internships and volunteering is definitely a way to start, but having that, you have to learn how to be a zookeeper in a lot of ways. And oftentimes that is starting with different animals, especially if you're like, I'm going to work with tigers, I'm going to work with lions. I can assure you guys, it is a very hard thing if you've never been around a zookeeper before. So those are the kind of things. And I will be the first person to tell you, you will absolutely be surprised of what species end up capturing your heart. There are so many animals out there, guys, that you don't want to be enamored by what we call the charismatic megafauna, who are amazing, and I love them, and they're great. But guys, go and keep an open mind, and it will definitely help you in your career to get where you want to go. But you might end up taking that left turn and falling into something that you never would have expected, and it blows your mind away with how many opportunities there are to make a difference in the world with so many species. So it's a really great way, especially with a lot of endangered species, talking about hand rearing and stuff. We'll probably get into that a little bit more, but that's some very specialized things because it helps save species overall. So that's a big, big deal. So before we get into it, what you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but what kind of education do you recommend? So if somebody says, hey, I think I want to be in this, what kind of education would you recommend, both, high school and beyond that? And then are there any certifications that they might want to look into, online training certificates or anything? And then what kind of skills do you think a person should have coming into this? What are some good personality traits you're like, you're going to make it?
Well, it's a lot. So I think what someone needs to do first is actually sit down and think, is this what I want to do? Go to the zoo, go to a sanctuary. If you see somebody doing a keeper chat, talk to that person. See if it's something that you're interested in. And then from there, look to see if there's any team programs. And a lot of facilities do have like camps or even just teen volunteers or something in the summer. Go check that out. And then from there, see what colleges have an animal major or a wildlife major that you're interested in. And there's also a few schools that are just specialized for zookeeping. For me, I went to Penn State. I majored in animal bioscience, which actually is a livestock pre-vet major. So definitely took a left turn from there, and I'm now working with itty bitty birds instead of livestock and sheep and cows and things like that. But just look for a school that would fit you. See if a big university would work, and if they have a wildlife degree or an animal type degree that you're interested in, or look into the zookeeping schools. There's a couple in the country, and see if it works for you. And and when you are about 16 to 18, depending on the facility, you can volunteer. and you can help the keepers. You can work as attendants and actually get hands-on into the field.
Definitely. And now, what kind of skills do you think what really shines when you have a good volunteer, or you see one of those good teen students come in? What's you're like, yep, you're mine, I'm stealing you.
So what really sticks out for me for when someone comes in is if they can hose or roll a hose properly. No, just kidding. So is if they just have an open mind and they're willing to do the hard work and the gross work, you know, shoveling and cleaning out food pans, bleaching, all that stuff, and cleaning out pools. I'm not saying that they're going to be super excited about it, but if they're willing to do it, they have a drive, they come every day or every week, whatever they're supposed to do, and they're asking questions. If they're interested in it and they're asking really good questions, I mean, any question is actually a good one. I mean, as long as, you know, they're asking questions, they're interested, and they look like they want to be there, they're gonna stick it out and be awesome.
That is a great point, and I don't think we've mentioned this before. Yeah, guys, ask questions. When you guys come up and you talk to us and you're meeting keepers at a facility, asking questions, it does kind of excite us to be like, you are showing the spark of interest, and believe me, we want to fan that flame. So that is a really great point. If this is something where you think you might want to go and start leading into that, asking really basic questions, even on just a really basic visit, but if you are able to go and work in a camp or anything like that, by showing that interest, you're going to have a really great opportunity to develop a relationship with those keepers, and they're going to be watching you, and that's a really good way to excite us and to want to bring you in a little bit closer. So that is a really great point too. So let's talk about some of those tasks and some of the not so lovely things about our job. What's like a day in your life? What are some of your daily tasks looks like? And when do you start?
I start work on either two shifts, either at 6 a.m. or at 7 a.m. And we actually work 10-hour days. So I either work till 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So it's nice. But as far as my daily tasks go, whenever I get in, first thing I do is check to see if there's any eggs that have hatched, if there are any that were due, and just do a quick candling, which is looking at the eggs under a high-powered flashlight and making sure that everything is okay and they're doing well and they're hatching properly. And then I go and feed any chicks that we have. And they are just hungry little monsters, so you have to make sure you feed them and real quick and make sure that everyone is taken care of and the babies are good. Then from there, go and get the diets prepared for everybody else. So I also take care of breeding pairs of birds and retired birds. So make sure that they get fed, do any observations, hosing, raking, any landscaping, rummaging around for branches, for perching, and just any sort of enrichment for them.
Yes. Enrichment you guys know that we do enrichment with our lions and with our giraffe. That's a common thing. It doesn't matter how big or how small they are. Enrichment is for all animals, and so it's a way to encourage natural behaviors. It's a way to encourage stimulation throughout, and so it's a really great way, and you're going to see that in many different species. So this is another great way where you're going to see a lot of variation, and sometimes for the birds especially, it could be hidden. It could be different types of perching. It could be different types of leaves. It could be a pile of leaves. Sometimes that alone is really, really fun. So it might not look like something that you'd notice, but a lot of the bird keepers have a lot of fun with that too. So we love enrichment. I'm a huge enrichment person. What's like the most number of chicks you could have in a morning that needed to be fed?
This year, of course, with everything going on, we've had our best season yet. And we had about 25 chicks to feed. So you're making diets pretty much all day for them. But you get started at 6, and then you have to have several people throughout the day helping you out.
Yes, that's a huge job. I don't know if you guys saw our wildlife rehabilitation last week, guys, but she was talking about how those baby birds need to be fed on a pretty regular schedule throughout the day too. So she said she had to feed her bird. They feed every 15 to 20 minutes for their newborns, so that can be quite a bit of things. It's actually the wildlife hospital in Florida too, so they have a lot of things. What about any migratory birds or any wild birds? Do you take care of any of that? Do people bring you guys birds? Because I know that that could be a thing with a lot of zoos too.
Not in my particular area, but we at our hospital we do have a wildlife ward where any animals, birds, mammals, reptiles come in, and the hospital keepers care for them. But I do volunteer at the Audubon Bird of Prey Center on my off days, as if I don't get enough zookeeping. But I have to get your raptor fix. And I help them take care of their birds as well. And from there, people bring in birds from their houses or anything like that, and they get assessed and rehabilitated.
Yes, because it's definitely the season, but we were talking that there's a lot more this year because people are home, people are paying attention a lot more. So it's definitely been an upswing there. So it's nice that your wildlife hospital is able to go and participate with that too. So it's been a different year for zoos, to be sure. There's a lot going on. Now, when it comes to the species that you're raising, are you raising any in particular that would have to fall under Endangered Species Act or Migratory Bird Acts? Are there things that specialize in your zoo, or is there anything like regulatory things with the birds that you guys have to follow in particular?
Nothing as far as regulatory with the government or anything like that. Not just yet. We are currently raising a Guam kingfisher, and they are extinct in the wild. So we work very closely with the Guam government and a project dealing with the Guam kingfishers, trying to get them released back into the wild. And so hopefully soon, in the next 10 years or so, we can get that going. But for right now, we're just raising them and just trying to get them into Guam as we can. And we're also raising blue crown laughing thrushes, which are part of the Asian songbird crisis. So the forests in Asia are becoming silent due to people capturing birds for bird contests. And it's also a status symbol to have these singing birds, and they're a very personable bird. So, and they have a beautiful song and they can mimic. So in these contests, whoever has the best singing bird will win. They get lots of money. So, and people pay villagers who don't have a lot of money to capture these birds, and the forests are going silent because of it. So the blue crown laughing thrush is one of those species that we're trying to raise awareness because they are critically endangered.
So that's something where I have not heard of this before. So I'm glad we brought that to everyone's attention. I will go and post some information about that. So guys, if you want more information about this kind of thing, this is why zoos are so important all over the world. We are working with species that are in our own backyards and across the world. The Guam kingfisher, like she mentioned, is extinct in the wild. They are beautiful, beautiful birds. They've had just a few left. They brought them into human care, and they've been able to successfully rear almost 1,000 now, I think. But they're still not able to go back out into the wild yet. One, because you got to make sure that there's a home to go home to. That's a big issue. It's hard. You can't just go and throw them into the wild and it's all going to be hunky-dory. You got to work with the government, like she was talking about. So this is a huge worldwide project, and every single bird counts. So that is a big deal. And I'm sure if there are any chicks that come of that, one, it's exciting as all get out, but oh my goodness, that's a lot of work. So now let's talk about the hardest question that we always bring up, and that is, what is your favorite animal? And it could be any animal that you worked with. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bird, and it could be an individual or it could be a species.
That's a tough one. I am obsessed with flamingos. Love them to death. All the species. I even have a room in my house that's just dedicated to flamingos. It's pink, of course, and but since working where I am, I have fallen in love with the marabou stork. And it's a bird that not a lot of people think are very pretty or have heard of for that matter, but they are just the coolest, most personable birds. And they are very vital to their ecosystem. And they're just fantastic. And they're just full of personality.
I love it. You guys will definitely see some photos of them. They are very unique birds, to be sure, but yeah, they are absolutely necessary. They do live out in Africa. So those are some fun birds, but this is the one where everybody looks and goes, really? But yes, and it's usually those ones who end up catching the keeper's attention. That's not an unusual story. So what is something about your job that nobody would expect when you're telling people what you do, when they ask you to say, wait, say that again?
So there's so many things. Just when you really get into it, people don't realize how much you get paid, that you have to move for the job. But most importantly, most commonly, I should say, is they are surprised they don't get holidays off. And I say every 7 years it rolls around and I get one off, but they're surprised. Not the fact that I don't get weekends off, but mostly holidays.
Yep, that is not uncommon. We are recording this on 4th of July, and I do happen to have today off, but of course everything would be canceled. Yeah, this is actually my first year ever having a weekend day off, and I'm actually really excited about that. So shh, don't change anything. I've never had that before, guys. And yeah, let's talk about that pay thing again. It's not unusual. Remember, guys, average pay in the United States for zookeepers is about $25,000 to $28,000 per year. And again, that is average. So that means there's a good chance you're going to be starting off lower than that. That is really common in our field. There may or may not be changes up in the future, but right now we're just working on providing what's best for our animals, especially now that a lot of zoos are still closed. So this is something where it's going to affect us for a really long time. We're willing to make those sacrifices, but it's definitely a sacrifice. We are choosing that. We are choosing the animals over our families a lot of the times because, yeah, we're not going home for Christmas. We are not going home for birthdays. We're not going home for weddings. So those are some really big things that is important to remember. It's not unusual for people in our field to only maybe go home once a year, if that. So it can be pretty hard. So it's a field that takes a lot out of your social life, but your coworkers are adorable. So there's that. And then what are some common misconceptions about your job?
The most common one is that people think that we snuggle and cuddle these animals and treat them like pets, but they're not ours. We're fortunate enough to work with them. They're our coworkers in a way, and we just get to talk to guests about them and take the best care we can and do conservation efforts with them. But most commonly, whenever I'm talking about an animal, especially by a name, people think, oh, well, do you take them out? Do you do this? Can you hold them? And it's, you have to say, no, it's a wild animal. I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely some of our animals that can. The birds that I work with, guys, remember my birds were pets. They have already established those human relationships, and so we want to continue that with their best care. All of the birds that you see when you visit us were in a human care aspect, and that's a different thing. When you're working with native species, when you're working with wild species, if you're working with exotic species, that can be really different. And if you're working with birds that could be rearing, you don't want to go and imprint on any babies or anything like that. So that's definitely a big thing to go and take into consideration. One thing I want to bring up, I have heard this and I want to go and dispel this myth right now, guys. There's a whole lot of flim flam. Working with birds is not easier than any other department. A lot of people think that it's, I hate this phrase, and so I'm going to get you guys to start changing this. Don't say they're just birds. They are not, I know, oh, I hate that one. They're just birds. No, guys, one, they're amazing. And their healthcare is really, really unique. It is delicate. These guys require so attentive and just informed caretaking in a lot of different ways. We have to know different physiology. We have to know different, food, outside weather, how they can be affected by many different things. How do their breeding seasons change, and all of those can all be very, very important. And the people who dedicate their lives to these animals, again, sometimes they end up taking these birds home to go and feed them. Again, this is not a because they're fun, cute things. It's because they have to be fed every 15 to 30 minutes sometimes. So that is a dedication. So there is no just anything when you come to the zoo. So if you hear somebody say that, it might be time to start changing that phrasing. What is your favorite part of the job?
My favorite part of the job, honestly, is watching the birds that I've cared for in the egg grow, hatch, and then we hand rear, and then become adults, and then have babies of their own. And it is just, it's amazing. And, it's wonderful to see that, like you said, the dedication, the passion, it shows in these birds are comfortable and happy enough to raise their own young, and and not present them to you, but just show you, look, you did something right, and here's some babies for you.
It's like a weird grandmother moment. I love it.
It is like a grandmother moment. It really is. And then also talking to the guests about what I do, and especially the younger kids. And for the most part, they just want to find a particular animal or bird in an aviary. And I always say, do you want to go on an adventure? And they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. And then we go on this Where's Waldo trip through the aviary to find a particular bird. And when they find it, it's just the coolest thing. And then you can throw in some nuggets of knowledge for them, and hopefully they can hold on to it and it impacts their life in some way.
That is amazing. And it definitely, it did for you. Just going to a zoo when you were younger inspired you to join this field. So it's something where I take that very seriously. I think all of the keepers, I hope all the keepers out there, I know a lot of keepers are scared of humans, but it's okay, guys. If you talk to humans, they'll be okay. That's the scariest animal to any of us, guys. It's the humans. We can work with the lions and the crocodiles. It's humans. They're scary.
Absolutely.
What's the hardest part of your job?
The hardest part, besides the pay, any dynamics, work dynamics, or even just having your voice heard, there's so many things that can be difficult, but you work through it, you learn, you grow. But the hardest thing is when an animal dies unexpectedly, and you're trying to process it, and you're trying to think back, is there anything that I missed that I could have helped? And it's just the whole grieving, processing part, and just trying to figure out if there was something you could have done, because they're a part of your life for 8 to 10 hours a day. These animals are a part of your life, and it's very difficult when you just lose one unexpectedly and you had no idea what was going on.
Yes, yeah, and unfortunately, guys, that does happen with birds, especially with birds, because they are a prey species, they're going to hide it for as long as possible. So you always do your best. Every morning you go in, you're looking at your animals, you're wondering if their behaviors are where they should be, and they will fake it. They will absolutely fake it for as long as possible.
Yep.
So that can be really, really challenging, especially
Yep.
in the bird world. So it's a really hard one. Birds are amazing. They are so smart and they are so unique, and all of their little isms, their little birdisms will 100% steal your heart. But they can be a challenging species to work with overall. So it's something that I do want to go. I know a lot of you have asked about bird interviews, and so that's why I was really excited to go and bring this up. It's something where you're going to want to start processing that now, to realize that there's a lot of science that goes on behind them, because their healthcare needs are very delicate. So definitely want to go and think about that before moving forward. You can absolutely do it. I have faith in each and every one of you, because I know that you guys have shown so much interest in this. And if you guys are already there, I know you guys will absolutely blow me away when you come to work with us in the next 10 years. I can't wait to have you beside me. But you guys will already be prepared for some of the stuff. So good on you. So, all right, that about wraps it up. I want to give a huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for taking time off to do this. Again, guys, remember they're doing this on their personal time, so give a huge shout out. And I can't wait to see it. And hopefully I'll be following along, and hopefully there's some cute baby bird pics that we see. And yeah, guys, check out the Asian songbird crisis. Let's see if there's things that we can do to help. Even just bringing knowledge to that, I think, is going to be a very helpful thing. So if you, like me, have never heard of that before, let's get out there, let's do some research, let's spread the word. And I am very interested in seeing the Guam kingfisher hopefully make some good recovery efforts. So follow that, guys. If you have never looked into them before, start following those trends and following those lines, because right now zoos are absolutely rocking it right now with saving that species. We almost lost them. We have them right now, and we're so close to being a success story to do a re-release, but got to work with governments for that. It's the hard part. But yeah, follow those stories, and I think our viewers today got some awesome nuggets of knowledge, as you said, and will hopefully be joining us in the field. That's what I hope for. Rock on for the future.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Stay cool, guys. Keep following back, and if you have questions, drop them down below. We're a pretty close community. We are more than happy to go and connect with each other, to go and share and bring that knowledge to each other as much as possible. Megan here has been fantastic with that. So if I have a question that I don't know, I'm going to bring it to her, because honestly, she knows more about birds than me. So I like it. And any parting words? If you have somebody who, like, you think there's a kid out there who might want to do it, what do you say?
Follow your passion. Do whatever it takes to get to where you want to be, whether it is zookeeping or acting or anything you want to do, but follow your dreams. Don't be bullied or pushed into anything else. Sit down, figure out what you want to do, and do it. You are the creator of your dreams, and you can make it happen. And work with birds.
Yes, and do it. Be a bird nerd, guys. Bird nerds.
Be a bird nerd.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up. Join us next week. We got some more keepers. I can't wait to go and bring this forward, guys. Keep sharing the love. If there's a program that you want to see, if you are interested in working with species or working with animals, not even in the zookeeping field, if there is something you're like, I want to work with animals doing this, and I promise you I will move heaven and earth to see if I can get an interview with somebody who does that. So that's one of my things I love about this field, is that if we work with animals, if I put the call out, usually I can get somebody to reply. So keep following back. I got a couple more interviews planned. We're going to be continuing the series for as long as I have people willing to interview, so that's always fun. And even though we are open, we are still going to be continuing our virtual series. So I want to thank my amazing supporters. Guys, you never cease to amaze me. I absolutely love you guys so much for coming out. So yeah, drop a like, share. Sharing this video has been a huge, huge help for us too. So you can always go and share our videos, share the love, because maybe you don't want to be a zookeeper. Hey, that's fine, but maybe your nephew does, or your cousin, or the kid next door, whatever it takes. If we can get this series out and we can have kids exploring these options, they might not have even realized that this is an option that they can do. And that is one thing we always want to reach, is if there is somebody in your life who wants to follow a passion with animals, please connect them with us. We want to do that, and we are more than happy to make that happen. And guys, donations, again, please, if you have the opportunity, I swear, just $5 will make a huge difference. It's able to go and help feed some of our animals for an entire day. So that is a big, big help, and we couldn't do it without you. But if not, hope to see you guys soon. And until next time, bye everyone.